My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and this is Election Brief. Within the next 30 minutes, we have the latest update from the political scene. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, and all social media handles at Joy News on TV. Election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, and German Ozone Medical Center, alternative therapy, dental, wellness, and beauty. Election headquarters for an informed electorate. Acting Dean at the Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Dr. Kwadwo Owusu, says that there are possible security threats in this election period from neighboring West African countries that have been largely unstable in the past few years. While commending Ghana's track record of stable democracy over the past 32 years, Dr. Owusu did not mince words in addressing the challenges that often characterize the country's election campaigns. He acknowledged the prevalence of threats, intimidations, and the impact of vigilante groups, cautioning these factors could serve as catalysts for election-related violence if not effectively managed.
Ghana is at risk or is not at risk. What I can say is that the countries that have experienced violent extremist activities or that continue to experience them had certain weaknesses in their security architecture, and there's a certain degree in which Ghana needs to ensure that they do not, or we do not open ourselves to those insecurities. Where they manifest, we should mobilize the capacity to address them such that they do not fester and open and expose us to those activities. And as I noted, there are cases of insecurity that revolve around farmer-herder conflict, chieftaincy dispute, land disputes, some of which have become protracted, cases of political vigilantes who, when they do not sort of receive the sort of expectations they have from politicians in terms of maybe giving them jobs and so on and so forth. Once again, expose them to people who may want to exploit them. And these are areas where we need to take corrective actions to ensure that these guys are well integrated and therefore addressing potential threats that may be used by people who seek to exploit them. We need to allow, there's no other solution as far as I can see than allowing the law to work. And as I noted earlier, institutional capacity effectiveness is central in ensuring that once the law is working, the people who violate them are held to account. I think then everybody will be compelled to sort of comply and minimize the possibility that they would. So far, we have not experienced any cases of violent extremism, or shall I say outright violent extremist or terrorist activities on our side. So the priorities will be to continue to invest in preventive measures and investing in preventive initiative will require some of the rule of law, good governance principles, respect for human rights and so on and so forth. I talked about issues of equity, issues of fair distribution of resources and so on and so forth.
My colleague Kenneth JC was at the event. He joins me with more. Kenneth, on what basis did Dr. Kwadwo Owusu point these dangers to our election campaign?
Well, Aisha, is backed with data in recent times, especially in the West African sub-region. We've seen a spate of coups, Burkina Faso and other countries bordering Ghana, and its fears are that if care is not taken, or our border towns especially could be a bit porous, which could lead to the infiltration of terrorist groups from neighboring countries, and which could, destabilize Ghana, which has largely been a very stable country in the past 32 years. They also talk about security, the fact that more than 7 million Ghanaians use social media, but how are they able to protect themselves from malware? How are they able to protect themselves from existential threats? Because all the threats, some could come through social media. You could just open a link and you could be in trouble. So he has, cited the fact that there is relative instability in the West African sub-region. And not long ago, we saw African Union members converge in Accra to talk about the fact that military takeovers are becoming rampant on the continent, and ways to...
Is our man following this for us. He will try and get him back on. Kennedy JC, are you back? You were making the point of how these existential threats on the continent will affect the elections, the upcoming election. Kenneth?
Yeah.
Right, so Kenneth JC is a man at that event, and they've been talking about how threats, intimidations, and vigilante groups are challenges that face the upcoming elections, and they say if not immediately managed, it could have the impact on our election. When we get Kenneth, he'll tell us more of what Dr. Kwadwo Owusu has been telling him from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center. I'm told Kenneth JC has joined us again. Kenneth, so you were telling me about how these three challenges face us as we warm up to the 2024 elections.
Yes, Aisha, I believe you could hear me now. So these, we are bordered by countries that are facing a lot of military takeovers. You talk about Burkina Faso and other countries, and the conflict going on in Boko. The security experts did mention that Boko has become a very volatile area, and that could lead to terrorists entering the country. If we make threats, vigilantism, he has called on leaders to ban vigilantism heading into the 2024 December polls. But he's also said that these leaders who are supposed to ban the vigilantism often engage in them, so it has become very difficult to put their foot on the gas and say that we're stopping all acts of vigilantism, which could also lead to, election-based violence in the country if care is not taken.
How does he recommend we manage these challenges?
Yes, he recommends that we put our foot on the gas. He recommends that the leaders who are supposed to implement the laws do so without fear or favor. They do so, and then he mentioned the fact that the See Something, Say Something initiative, the campaign that was launched by government, that if you see something, say something, we should really enforce it. If you see something that you suspect is a security threat that could mar the elections that is coming up, say something. Government should try and implement, especially the anti-vigilantism law, which has the potential of marring this election.
Kenneth JC is our man with this for us. There's more on myjournline.com. You can read from this event. But the new patriotic parties Flag bearer Dr. Bawumia has reassured Ghanaians that the current power crisis faced by Ghanaians will soon be resolved. Dr. Bawumia affirmed the government's dedication to addressing the outages once and for all. Speaking at a breakfast meeting with MPP regional leaders ahead of the start of his nationwide tour in the eastern region, Dr. Bawumia explained the Energy Ministry is actively managing the challenges in the country's energy sector and will soon yield positive results.
With power challenges, but I can say from the assurances I have received from the Minister for Energy that those power challenges will very soon, and I mean very soon, be a thing of the past. They are working at it, and I am very confident that this will go a long way to deal with it. But I say that I want your support. I'm come here to ask for your support. I want us to go to take Ghana to a different level. I believe with your support and by the grace of God, we can take Ghana to a different level. I believe in possibilities. With God, everything is possible, and Ghana will go to the promised land. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless our homeland.
Shared aspects of his family dynamics to highlight what he describes as a blend of religious affiliations and diversity.
Ask government and the faith-based organizations to have a very, very close relationship. I want us to have a close relationship. And I have said that if you look at the way that the faith-based organizations, the churches, and so on have done for Ghana, it is more than many of our external development partners will ever do for Ghana. Much, much more. The schools they have built, the church, the hospitals they have built. But we always don't treat our faith-based organizations as partners in development. I want to bring a whole new chapter in the relationship between our churches, our faith-based Islamic organizations, and the government. I want to bring a golden age of that relationship between the church and the faith-based organizations.
Dr. Bawumia says he has the right track record to fight corruption, urging religious leaders to vote for him to ensure accountability, since President Mahama, if voted, will not return after 4 years to account for his office.
Ask government and the faith-based organizations to have a very, very close relationship. I want us to have a close relationship. And I have said that if you look at the way that the faith-based organizations, the churches, and so on have done for Ghana, it is more than many of our external development partners will ever do for Ghana. Much, much more. The schools they have built, the church, the hospitals they have built. But we always don't treat our faith-based organizations as partners in development. I want to bring a whole new chapter in the relationship between our churches, our faith-based Islamic organizations, and the government. I want to bring a golden age of that relationship between the church and the faith-based organizations.
An independent parliamentary candidate in the Jisoba election, Kwadwo Owusu Afriyie, says the ruling MPP is facing difficulties in retaining the seat due to the party's poor leadership. He says grievances in the MPP's polling station election in the constituency fueled his ambition to go independent, drawing a part of the party along. Mr. Afriyie refuted allegations of being a traitor, insisting President Akufo-Addo should rather show leadership by boldly resolving internal party issues. Ojima was at Ejiso as the former NPP MP wrapped up his campaign for the by-election.
Bigwigs of the NPP, including President Akufo-Addo and his vice, Dr. Bawumia, were present in the final rally of the party ahead of the by-election. The president mounted the campaign platform with some jabs for the former MP who is attempting a comeback as an independent candidate.
So to cabinet minister, our MP.
You unseated a cabinet minister at Ejuso and found nothing wrong with that. But today, you are everywhere talking. Late Sunday night, the independent candidate was on the grounds to wrap up his campaign. Kwadwo Owusu Afriyie severed ties with the NPP after a declaration to run as an independent candidate in the upcoming by-election. Mr. Afriyie claims the NPP lacks leadership, dismissing allegations of being a traitor.
I don't want to say anything bad against the president. He is the president of Ghana. I'm not a traitor. When I lost the primaries, did I go independent? I did not. I took it in faith. But when there is an issue that is contrary to the guidelines and regulations of the MPP party, and people raise concern, if they are good leaders, they should have solved it. If they are saying that I'm a traitor, even while I'm outside, the projects that I and Kofi Job we are doing, they all favor MPP. Adam is not a traitor. They should learn to be good leaders and solve problems that are in the party so that the party can stand up. I'm telling you, MPP has no spirit in Ejuso constituency and even in Ashanti region.
In response to the tag of being pushed by the NDC, Mr. Owusu Afriyie wants the president to show evidence for the reason. He explains his candidature appeals to NDC supporters in the constituency due to his track record.
If the NDC man, if the president is saying NDC man, he has to prove I am not an NDC man, because NDC people, they like me. All the works that I did, they are all benefiting. Where have they seen me wearing NDC colors? It's because I said I'm going independent. That's why. The people here who are NDC, they want to vote for Afriyie because Afriyie did projects that benefited them. Now, let me answer what he said I did it for them. Yes. Even when NDC was in power, I worked for my people. There are some 4 roads that I requested for from NDC government that was given me. 4 major roads. I did it in NDC time. So all the projects that I did, I love it and I had it. Having said that, I used my own pocket money. But who is government? Government is all of us. The roads were not done by the president's pocket money. It wasn't by the vice president's pocket money. It wasn't by any of them pocket money. It is the revenue, it is the sources, it's the funds of the state that were used to do it. What is important is that if you are an MP, you lobby for projects for your people.
Earlier, some supporters of Kwadwo Owusu Afriyie hit the streets of Ejuso to campaign. Six candidates are going into the race slated for Tuesday, but the NPP's Kwadwo Owusu and independent candidates Kwadwo Owusu Afriyie are in lead to represent the Ejuso constituency in Parliament. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Ejuso.
Senior political science lecturer at the KNUST is meanwhile cautioning the NPP not to underestimate the independent candidate Kwadwo Owusu Afriyie. He spoke earlier on Joy News Desk.
The fact that the NPP continues to be in office today and they cannot boast of any major thing that Mr. Afriyie did not bring there. If that is the case, and Mr. Afriyie stands tall as far as projects in Ejuso are concerned, then definitely they will lend their support to him. You know, it means that the individual matters, the individual member of parliament matters, the individuals strong, deep commitment to the welfare of the people he or she represents matters. And that will also show in the way the individual goes about doing what has to be done, lobbying to get, projects for the place. And Mr. Adiomi's record is, will take a beating. If he could engage the NDC when the NDC was in government and get, something for this thing, then he stands tall and strong. Besides, the people in the Jusu know. They know that the current MPP government has not really, done very well in terms of managing the whole country's affairs. The governance has not been, anything to write home about. They are all suffering. And Joseph's market is there. And when you go there, I was there just yesterday, and it's the place that I personally experienced people complaining about the hardships in the system. So all these things are simply not working, in favor of the party and neither in the candidate.